What is up, guys? Scrappy here, and today we're going to be looking at Kindred in the jungle, a new champion that I've been picking up. So I thought I'd make a guide video on her, and I'm going to start doing this with a lot more champions. I feel like these guide videos are really helpful. A lot of people appreciate the guide videos, and I appreciate making them. And then when the hard work goes into them, after they goes out, if the video is successful and gets good feedback, I really like that. So I'm going to start doing more of these guide videos. And I haven't done one in a while, so let's get started. So starting off, we're going to go ahead and talk about runes and masteries. You're going to want to be going 12, 0, 18, and taking up Strength of the Ages. And then for runes, you're going to be taking 80 reds, armor yellow, scaling MR, and attack speed quints. A standard 80 page for the runes. If you want to change that up a little bit, by all means, you can do that. Now let's talk about her abilities. As far as the maxing order, you want to be going Q, W, E, and obviously getting your R whenever you can. Her passive is Mark of the Kindred. It marks a random target. Well, there's two parts of it. The first part is it marks a random monster every couple minutes, and you can get this stack. And when you get this stack, it gives you 1.25% extra damage on all of your attacks, your W and your Q and your auto attack. So it does 1.25% of your target's current health, and you can stack this up. The more stacks you get, the more you get. After level 6, the stacks quit going on to minions, and you can only get them on champions. So that's another part of her passive. You can choose which champion you want to mark, and if you kill that champion, just like if you kill the marked camp, then you will get a stack of your passive, and it stacks infinitely. Technically, you could get a bunch of stacks, but I find that it usually maxes out anywhere between 10% to 15%, depending on how many you get early and how quickly you get them and how many kills you get in the game. Moving on to her Q is Dance of Arrows. She dashes around and she shoots out 3 bolts, hitting all of her targets. It will prioritize whoever she's attacking. So this also goes in with your W. If you use your W, it creates an AoE area around you that your wolf will attack in. And if you Q inside of your W, it resets the cooldown of your Q to 2.5 seconds, and you can use it multiple times while in it. Your W will also attack things and also do some damage. Part of your W will also do some of your passives damage. Her E is Mounting Dread. You fire at your enemy, it'll slow them. If you auto attack them or attack them 3 times after that, it will do percentage health damage and slow them again. Very, very good. And her ultimate is Lamb's Respite. You can target on a champion ally or yourself, and it'll create an AoE circle that makes champions not be able to drop below 10% of their maximum health. After the duration's up, it'll heal them for a flat amount, scaling with their level. In the jungle, you're going to want to start your W, and then you're going to want to take your Q at level 2, and then your E at level 3. As far as your jungle route goes, you can do whatever route you want, but Kindred is very, very strong early, which we'll get into in a little bit later. So I suggest going whatever your bottom camp is, leash from your bot lane, then going a buff, then going to your other buff, and then looking for a gank if you can. So whatever that is, I recommend doing that, whatever that is, whether it's doing Gromp, blue buff, and then red buff, or Krug's red buff and then blue buff, and then looking for a gank. As far as the build goes with Kindred, I would suggest this build and some kind of variation of it. What order you buy the items can typically depend on your game, but Swiftness Boots, Warrior Enchantment, Ghost Blade, RFC, Mob Malmorpheus, Starax Gauge, and then for your last item, you can kind of pick whatever you want, but just, some defensive item there. For the early game, you're going to want to start out buying the Hunter's Talisman. Very good with the mana regen. Make sure you don't run out of mana when you're spamming your Q early, especially if you don't get that blue buff if you're starting bot side. You can invade if you want. She's alright at evading. It's not the best. I wouldn't really suggest it. I would focus more on getting your early stack, whether it's spawning at the Scuttle Crab or maybe at one of the Raptors. If you can get that, I would focus on that rather than maybe invading. Early game, you're going to want to focus a lot on ganking as much as you can. She's very strong early. The more stacks you have early, the more damage you're going to be doing, and the easier it is to scale in the late game. So I suggest ganking as much as you can and getting as many objectives as you can, especially pushing towers. I find once you get longer into the game, the harder it gets to do things with her unless you're ultra fed. So I suggest getting yourself as strong as you can and ganking for whatever lanes can carry, and just going from there. Hopefully you gain enough lead in the early game to hopefully it won't matter in the late game, and then you find your win condition and you can end. Also, it's very easy to neglect farming with her, but she's a very, very, very fast clearer in the early game. So I suggest make sure you balance farming with ganking. You definitely don't want to be ganking too much and miss out on a free experience and gold in the jungle. So as you're going through lanes, make sure you're picking up a camp or two, and because her clear is really good and she has high mobility, and then gank when you can. Mid game, you're gonna be wanting to focus on pressuring the map. You're gonna be at your good comfort zone. You're gonna have a couple items under your belt, and you're gonna be doing some decent amount of damage if you're doing everything right. Focus on pushing down them towers and expanding your lead. If you haven't finished your 6 stacks on the jungle camps, make sure you do that as soon as possible. As far as late game goes, late game Kindred is probably the most difficult Kindred to play. You kind of have to change your play style. You're just going to be more team fighting, and she's not the best in team fighting. She's better 1v1 and in small skirmishes, but she could still work in team fights. So you just got to remember that she's a marksman in the end. Now, depending on how much damage you have, you might be able to one-shot one of the carries, but sometimes it might be better just to back off and use your passive damage to get their tanky front line down and peel for your carries. You can still go in and try to kill their carries, but you need to be very cautious of how you do it, when you do it, and where your teammate's at. In the end, I think Kindred is a fantastic champion. I think she's really, really good for solo queue. You can push objectives early and get your team fed early and get as many kills as you can early, and then you kind of just can carry the game from there. You can get it out of the enemy team's hand and then into your own and then end the game. Very good. Anyway, that's going to be it for the Kindred guide. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know what champions you want to see next. I think I might do a Diana guide like this next, but just let me know. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe and leave a like rating. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.